So today we are engaging in the third session of our 6-part Russell Kema Art Speaker Series. This session is called Embracing Flow, Living Holistically in a Fast-Paced World. Now today, I see you all walking around. Please, 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 I extend a personal invitation to come on over to the plush seats and join us for an amazing conversation. Today we're going to dive deep into the concept of flow, described as a mental state of allowing effortless immersion into an activity or an experience. The panelists joining us in this conversation come from a variety of health and wellness. They come from expertise, pulling for people to fully uncover what it means to push the brake, lose track of time, and to be fully present in the moment. I'm your moderator, Dr. Tiffany Lachelle Smith. I am the Grants and Partnerships Manager here at the Al-Qasimi Foundation, and I have the pleasure of introducing our esteemed panelists here today. So I'm going to start with Dr. Amneya Omar. She is a digital wellness educator and certified happiness life coach who obtained her PhD in educational research from Lancaster University, United Kingdom. With more than 15 years of global experience, she has facilitated several workshops and consulted many clients about well-being strategies. She's worked in the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Kuwait, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Please join me in a round of applause. Welcome, welcome. Next, we have Hajra Hussain, who is a chartered psychologist accredited by the British Psychology Society and an accredited positive psychology coach. She has over 10 years of experience in psychology and health behavior change and has pioneered several initiatives, including the Big Happiness Project. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Hajra. Or, you know what, we could introduce the snapping. I love snapping. Yes. Next on our panel, we have Mudarima Dishmuk. She is a health and lifestyle wellness consultant, certified fitness trainer, and a diabetes educator. Her 20 years of expertise has been spent promoting holistic health, tailoring strategies for weight management, supporting fitness enhancement, and improving people's awareness about chronic disease care and stress and sleep management. Let's welcome Rima. And last, but of course not least, is Samira Ghassemi. She's a distinguished psychotherapeutic counselor. I got it. You know these long words, it's like I'm gonna get every syllable. She's based in the UK, and she's the author of the novel, No Coin for Shireen. Now, am I pronouncing that correctly? Shireen. No Coin for Shireen. She is advancing in the 3rd year of her professional doctorate in psychotherapy and counseling at the New School of Psychotherapy and Counseling in the UK. Please join me in welcoming Samira. Welcome, welcome. All right, I hope you all are ready because this is going to be a very, very engaging conversation. And we're going to start with Dr. Amneya first. So this is a 2-part question. Given your extensive expertise promoting well-being across various countries, could you share a bit about your definition of flow, particularly in the context of today's fast-paced society? And then after that, share your thoughts about the impact of the digital world and how it impacts our flow.
Yeah, I like how you're saying based on the pace of the digital age now, because it really matters. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Yeah. More? Okay, I'll try that.
Or we can switch.
So, yeah, thank you for bringing this topic that was really important.
Yeah.
And let us say something. Flow is, the way I see it, it's more of an equation. And it is simply like getting in several items in, that is deep engagement, a status of not really sensing the time, doing something while you're really feeling you are engaged, fully present, something you enjoy, and then you go into the state of flow. And why do we need to talk more about flow recently? Because a typical or a well human being has three phases. There is the past, and there is the present, and there is the future. What we aim to achieve from our past is being satisfied with what had happened, the satisfaction part. And what we need from our presence is to be happy. And what we aim for in the future is being hopeful and optimistic of what comes. For our presence, we need to be in a state of flow. This would work on increasing our positive emotions and being more engaged, that's why we need to focus more on the flow. Well, one thing we need to focus on, ideally no one stays in flow all the day,
right,
or all the week.
Right.
It is a pattern, or it's a state that you go in for specific activities that you do enjoy, and eventually it cascades with a lot of positive emotions that support you across your day and across your week, and so it goes. So it's like charging you. Now, me talking about how flow requires deep engagement, that would bring us to the impact of the digital age.
Exactly.
Because I think all of you would agree with me that by that time, it's very hard to be fully engaged with your phone, having hundreds of notifications all the time, from an email to a WhatsApp to Instagram. This pops up, an email received, someone called, a waiting line, an email popped. All these distractions that the digital age brought us, as much as it is benefiting our productivity to an extent, as much as it was needed, and it was a rescue for the whole world when we saw what happened during the pandemic, but still it brought its consequences and it impacted our engagement deeply. And I have a very funny statistic to say, like, after the pandemic, there is an increase in the Google search for the words, how can I be more focused? 300%.
Wow.
So it's like triple.
Wow. Wow.
The amount of people that are just typing, how can I be focused? How can I get my brain to focus on that? Not just even to be in flow, which requires a higher level of engagement. So yes, digital age impacted it, and that's why it is important, and this is why I was passionate to study digital wellness, because there needs to be a permanent solution, especially that digital age is staying with us, and we don't want it to go away, and it's evolving, but we need to be more ready.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for setting the tone with that, because it sounds to me like there's a little bit of the bittersweetness of the digital devices. It's one thing that's interrupting our day, but then we're also going back to it to try to look for solutions. So it's, both ends.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect segue to our next question with Hadra. Given your background in health psychology and positive psychology coaching, what do you think is the relationship between flow and mental health?
So the relationship between flow and mental health is very, very, very much intertwined. So for instance, you have positive emotions, and that's highly correlated with flow. So if you're doing an activity that is flow-induced, you're more likely to be in that moment, and that overall will increase your mood and your well-being overall. Also, I think it's really prominent in reducing stress and anxiety. So when you're doing, again, an activity that you're in flow with, you're going to be distracted and maintaining your well-being. And then you have purpose. When you're doing things that you're not doing, when you're interacting in moments that are of high value to yourself, you're more likely going to foster purpose and fulfillment in your activity. So it's really important to kind of, the relationship between flow and mental health is extremely intertwined.
Yeah, that's perfect. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking about the definition of flow, we're talking about the relationship between flow and mental health, and now we're going to shift, Rima, to thinking about flow and health and fitness. as a wellness consultant and certified fitness trainer and a diabetes educator, what's your thoughts about the connection between flow and health and fitness?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holistically Foundation, for organizing such a beautiful event and inviting me for this silence. So let's talk about what is health. So if you are not having any diseases, if you are not having any pain, or not pain, you will say unhealthy. But health is much more than this. The definition of health is a state of well-being where you're not only physical, it's a physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being of a person as a whole. So there are so many aspects about the health. So each aspect there has to be some harmony between this. So how do we achieve this, or how do we going to balance all these aspects? So I will say there are, just remember 5 rules of good health. So first of all, you have to know about your nutrition. Having a good nutrition, optimal level of fitness, managing your mind and stress, managing your stressors, and sleep. Sleep is also most important aspects, and staying away from the habits like smoking, alcohol, like. So now you will say, oh my, so much to do. How we are going to achieve this? It seems like a daunting task. So this is where having a flow or coming into the groove comes into place.
Yeah.
So how you have to achieve this optimal state is being mindful. Be mindful of your body. Listen to your body. What is it saying? And then take a smaller step to rectify which area of the your health aspect is you are falling short. So take a small step to overcome those. So for example, let's say about nutrition. You are not having a good nutrition. So first and foremost, your mind comes to, okay, good nutrition or healthy nutrition means I have to eat some greens whole day. So that is not a case. Nutritious food can be delicious, can be of your liking. So having some knowledge about the foods. And taking it to the next level, if you are not having knowledge about it, talk to your healthcare professionals or dietitians. So how to go about it.
Yeah.
This is where you can start taking steps towards better health.
Yeah.
And I will say this is not a achievement. Good health is not a state of something. It's a journey. And it has to go through all your life. So that is what it is.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And you're challenging us. I felt some pressure toward me, so I receive it because it does go into that. You know, we know what it is that we should be doing: the healthy eating, the mindfulness, making space, all of that. But do we do it? Is it something that we consistently mindfully show up to? And Samira, that transitions over to you because with your work in severe trauma cases, we're thinking more about people who have stressful careers, who are consistently engaged in stressful environments, and not even just the trauma aspect of it, but just like the go all day. So, what are your thoughts about finding flow in just everyday life?
I think one of the main factors that have also already been mentioned here is to look at the human generally as an entity. We need to take ourselves as an entity. In this relation, I mean, never comparing ourselves with others, first of all. Seeing to your own mind, body, and soul, and creating your own flow. What I've noticed in client work as well is many comparisons between ourselves and others, pressure at work, responsibilities that we have. And it takes a lot of courage to be actually take that first move and say, I'm not with this flow right now.
Yeah.
I am drunk in this ocean, but I've kind of separated a little bit. I've kind of gone off this road. And to get back behind that wheel that you control yourself should be the main focus. far as I'm concerned, within work, and I encourage this a lot within my client work. If we look at the mind as the main controller of the whole body, if we are able to start steering ourselves, if we don't steer ourselves, someone else will steer it for us. And you need to really bear this in mind in order to be living your authentic life.
Right.
You really need to get full control of your own mind in order to get on that journey behind that wheel. And behind that wheel, there are going to be many bumps. You're going to come across many bumps. You're going to come across side roads where you don't even know where you are. In fact, sometimes you need to lose yourself to find yourself again. And I've noticed a lot of clients lack boundaries. I think a lack of boundaries is one of the main pointers that we need to focus on in our everyday life. If I don't have boundaries, others will not know what my boundaries are. And I always say that if we take the mind again as a model, do you go to bed at night and leave your house door open? In Dubai, it's very safe, isn't it?
Right.
But anywhere else, and we all normally everybody says no. And I normally go back to this, why do you not leave your door open? Well, because I do not want others, intruders, to come into my house. What happens if they do? Well, they will take over my belongings. And I say, so why do you do that with your mind? Why do you allow intruders to come into your mind, to take pieces of you with them that are causing you suffering, that are causing you pain? And you're left feeling at times empty and lost because you have been stolen of things that actually belong to you. So if we focus on the mind, it's one of the main focal points that we should be focusing on in the first place. Getting control of everything for yourself, knowing your boundaries, and letting others know your boundaries. But if they don't know that, you have to put the boundaries for yourself. When they know that, sometimes it comes with a lot of suffering during this process, because the people causing you pain are sometimes the people who you think or who claim they love you the most. It could be indirect, it could be in the subconscious, but they're actually causing you pain. Learn to put boundaries forward. And sometimes when you're closing that door of your upper chamber up here, it's to also peek through the little, the little gap we have on the door, sometimes to peek over. How much access am I going to allow this person into my life? Sometimes you can door it, the door and say, I will give you access, for example, up until the kitchen.
Wow. Look, okay, I didn't want to stop you, but that is a great analogy. Why do we lock our doors? And just thinking about, that whole concept of we have control of our lives and we are the ones that decide how we show up, who we let in, who we live in our minds, all of that. Amazing, amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Wow. Dr. Amniya, I'm coming back to you. As someone deeply involved in the UAE's happiness and well-being national program, what are your thoughts about integrating flow and wellness as a core component of fostering societal well-being?
Yeah, so this question actually brings me to why I was so much focused on happiness and well-being, and it all goes through the UAE. Because at some point when I was researching in happiness and well-being, in 2016 when the UAE focused and stated the Minister's State of Happiness and setting UAE Happiness and National Program of Well-being, I was super fascinated. Like how the country is taking the proactiveness of having a full national program to adopt happiness and well-being of the society. And before that, that wasn't actually something usual to have it on a government level, to have it on a national program. Yes, in different parts of the world, you will find initiatives of being more happy and wellness from different entities. But to take it on a different level of a national program, that was a huge and pioneering step.
Absolutely.
And this is the beauty of it, because if you see from 2016 up until now how the national program has been focused on different aspects, you'll find that it is already being embedded within the country. So if you're going to focus on how there is there's a lot of museums that open, the art, the support of the art and museum, how this is helping us to be in more state of flow. Going to museum, watching art, this all helps our flow in many ways.
Absolutely.
Like for example, if I'm in a museum, everyone would have a calling, a specific image or a specific frame that when they're looking for, they're having their reflections on themselves, and it's like it's speaking to them. This image is speaking to them somehow. I personally, I find pictures that would find what back from the old days, ladies in the field with the baskets of fruits and vegetables and kids playing. I get fascinated. I can stand in front of this photo for like 15 minutes, just take me there, you know?
Yeah.
Want to live this nice life. So again, everyone has a calling. If we can look at the parts and how the parts having multiple activities, you'll find that this is also a way of supporting engagement and flow. In schools, there has been a lot of focus on experiential learning, and when you are living the experience, this helps a lot to support being more engaged in what you're learning and what you're actually capturing from the school, and this again supports flow. So, because simply flow is about engaging in different activities. It's not that hard. Some people think that flow is just that when you are drawing a picture or setting, it can be in flow if you're cooking. Cooking is a huge tool of flow.
That's true.
So it is there everywhere, and I see it being embedded parallel with as much as the UAE is focused on the digitization, and there's a digitization strategy of doing and implementing digitalization age across the whole country. There is also parallel to that a national program of enhancing our well-being. Moving finally, I'll wrap up with this one on the workplace. The fact of the 4 days, the working week, this is one of the things that also supports our status of engagement, to allow us more time to be more active outside and doing more activities that again help us to flow.
Yeah.
So I see it in a holistic way, and when I go to consulting companies and talk with employees, but the thing is sometimes we're not very aware, we see it and we cannot connect the dots.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the part of it. There is a need for awareness, more awareness, and that's why this panel and all these discussions is important for our awareness. And once we know that this is what is happening around us, then how are we actually utilizing it? Because you can have a lot of things that is happening around you and you're just not benefiting from it the way you should.
Yeah, you're not pushing the brakes.
Not pushing the brakes, exactly.
Goodness, so that whole awareness piece, I guess as you're talking, it's making me think about how flow is not just external, like exuding doing, but your idea about looking at a picture and that like engaging with your mental, like that's the internal of the flow. So I guess it could go both ways, but this is the first time that I'm thinking about it that way. Like flow, I'm thinking about the energy, you're in it, you're doing it, you're creating. But there's also that mental piece of like the connecting the dots and the awareness. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah, because actually one of the key things to help you go into flow is mindfulness and meditation. So the next time you go to the museum, look at a photo, remember me telling you that
Right.
you can go into state of flow, watching one of the photos later.
And then I'll go home and write a business plan.
But I just
Yeah, go.
So
Yeah.
you were saying earlier that flow isn't that hard. I think when you become an adult, sometimes it is. So it's really, really imperative that you kind of teach the youth about the importance of flow and like teach them that just be in the moment. Like for instance, if they're eating, what is this food? What's the texture? What's the smell? What's the colour? Just to kind of train them from that age so that it's normalised in their day to day. So it's not something like, oh, I have to do this. It's just commonality, and then obviously as they grow older, it's normal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about the presence after all.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's many people that think they are present, but actually they're not.
No.
Just that their body is there, but they are not present.
Everyone's multitasking.
Yeah.
Exactly. How often are people just eating? Like usually there's food and a phone or
That's the disconnect. That's
yeah.
exactly back to what you were both saying. It's the disconnect from the here and now. That should be the main focal point. I want to enjoy every drop of this food. I want to enjoy all the textures in my mouth. There's a complete disconnect. It's just action. And that's it. There's nothing else. It's like
tick box.
tick box. Food has been eaten, and the brain knows the food has been eaten. Exactly. I am now full. I will get up. It's like a robotic action, right? Literally consuming food whilst interacting with something that's completely fake. We know this metal piece with lights on it is not real, right?
Exactly.
We're connecting with something that disconnecting internally.
Definitely. Just
With
to
the
add in, as wanted to speak. We are in our brain. We have like millions of neurons. So, which is the second organ which has most neurons after brain? So that is our gut. Our gut has most neurons after brain, and there is also a connection happening from your gut to brain. So there is a two-way connections. So what she is saying that we are, or you are saying, you have to be mindful about what you are eating. And it is so true. It is so true that you are what you eat.
Oh.
That stays.
It's all interconnected, absolutely.
But I think also, if we just had a discussion, I think, for instance, as an adult, like if you're not, it's not normalized that you're in flow or you're present. Just small activities like when you're driving, start noticing the colours of the cars next to you. Like how many of us go to the office and it's just, you don't really pay like attention to the surroundings.
Oh,
Like you
goodness.
might have like a tree, but you don't notice it. How many of us like do our day to day and we kind of filter out things and we just normalize it. But in actuality, if you take a moment and you sit down and you'll be like, oh my god, the view out of my office window is so beautiful. Or like, the sunset, just two things like that kind of bring you back into the moment and you kind of check in with yourself and you ask yourself, does this fulfill me? Am I enjoying this?
Yeah.
And then the whole scope just continues.
That's beautiful. And it's perfect. It's another perfect example to what you were saying, Samira, about that control. I have control of my mind. And Hajra, just what you're saying. Control means I am going to not, just listen to the radio on the way to work. I'm going to stop. I'm going to look around me. Small things of, not even just the color of cars, but the brands of cars. That will get you, Just seeing these beautiful things around us. I'm like, yeah, I guess that is like just being intentional that I'm here, I'm present, I see it. It's bringing up something in me. Absolutely, another example of how to take control.
What's the first thing we do when we sit in the car? Normally, what I see is we switch on the car, bam, the radio or music. It's a complete disconnect.
Exactly.
Complete disconnect from what's actually happening.
The routine.
To entertain ourselves.
Yep.
Just temporarily, without actually having conversations with yourselves at times. Sometimes it's good to just switch the radio on and have some empathy with yourself. For yourself, and literally have a conversation with yourself to see what is it that I want to do today. Like literally, what is it? How am I going to fulfill my day today to the fullest? If you can just disconnect for a couple of seconds and have those moments with yourself to truly reflect, it's one of the most powerful things that I think humans do, but we very much don't do it. And when you mention it to someone, they might say, "Oh,
I don't have time for that."
I don't have time to listen to that. It's like, but you have time to listen to others who are in pain. But you don't even make the time to listen to yourself and yourself. There's a massive void there.
Yeah.
We need to really reflect on.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I just want to take a point off of that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier like food, you just eat and then it's next, and we kind of get into a routine. A lot of through my work, one of the main topics is I'm bored, I don't feel fulfilled, like my days are monotonous, I'm doing the same thing, like the years go really fast, and I haven't achieved anything, In those moments, it's really important, like you said, you switch off the radio, you're in the car, and then you start checking in with yourself, and you're like, how do you feel? What do you want to do today? And it's really important to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone, so maybe it's a new experience.
Yeah.
And that's when you do new experiences, then you're opening a doorway for, meaning and purpose, like you're discovering new emotions, new activities, and then that potentially can become part of your day-to-day, or like on the weekends. Maybe you realise you like going for a walk on the beach, and you haven't done that before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just looking at it from an existential perspective.
Yeah.
Meaning making, purpose, authenticity. it's really taking it to a whole different level of philosophical lens.
Yeah.
That freedom, I could go on and on today, because it's so meaningful, yeah, and it's something that if we focus on it, we'll probably either end up talking about death, our immortality. It can go on and on, because life is in flux. And sometimes I think we lack moments of realization of how much time we actually have on this earth.
Yeah,
We all think, for some reason, we're going to live forever.
I know, yeah.
And, it's a whole different discussion. But staying in that flow,
Yeah.
you can remind yourself of how many times have I surrounded myself this year alone with the people I love,
Love.
Yeah.
with the people that I treat. Let's say you have a 75-year-old mother and father.
Wait. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
Because you are amazing. And you are in flow. I feel it. Every single time you're talking, you are in flow. Right, this is your jam. This is your jam. You can do this all day. I want to go back just for a second. Hajra, you talked a little bit about the whole idea of being somewhere, you haven't thought about the last time you walked on a beach. That was a perfect segue to Rima. We're going to get back into the conversation of flow and fitness, because one of the things that I've done, and this is back to the comparing yourself to people too, because I do like to walk. I'm a cardio person. I don't like the gym, but I've been told, you need body mass, you need this, you need that. And I'm like, I think I'm just fine with my cardio on the corniche, because it's the mental, the physical is a consequence of that. I'm not looking for it. But Rima, just coming back to you, just tell us about how, or at least your thoughts about embracing flow and the idea of that long-term commitment to fitness.
Yeah, okay. So, fitness, everybody, principally agrees. It must be done. Exercise we must do. To start is easy, but to sustain or to do it every day, every time, it's difficult. So, why does this happen? So, because, like you said, okay, you like walking, but you don't like to do the weights. So, this is so many discussions. So, exercise, you have to go to gym. Exercises, you have to do certain kind of exercises. You lift some heavy weights. So, these are some of the preconceived notions. So, before going there or before doing that, okay, I will do it later. So you procrastinate. Just 50 minutes because you are not like it. But as you said, you like walking. Yes, walking is a cardio is good. So in a fitness, we want 3 things. So cardio, your strength, and flexibility. There has to be some balance. Like just like nutrition, it has to be balanced.
Yeah.
So yeah, no need to do weights every day, but just in 2 days in your walks, you can add some little push-ups, sit-ups, squats. That's all.
That's all? You promise?
Just be mindful. Here comes the flow, here comes the mindfulness. Little bit, okay, I'm doing good for my heart, I'll let me do something for my muscles.
Yeah.
So what you can do. So little yoga poses you like. Yoga poses you do. Yoga poses or you want to have lift weights, you can use weights. And choose what activity, what kind of exercise you like. Crunches and push-ups. Not everybody can do. The thought of doing that will be okay. I'm not doing it. But there are so many alternatives to these kind of exercises that you have to learn, you have to have a knowledge of it, and you have to think on it. So again, yeah, having a little knowledge about your fitness, about your body, and doing this. That's it.
Okay, challenge accepted. Just the small things.
Challenging by all matters.
I know, I feel like I'm a little under attack on this panel. Like, this is the mirror work, right? So, audience, we have a little bit of space for some Q&A. If this has sparked any questions, conversation, and then maybe about 5 minutes we can spend on some Q&A, and then we'll come back and wrap it up with our last question. All right, Mr. Ali, I'm coming to you. Don't add any more pressure.
Thank you for doing the whole panel. It was a wonderful discussion, a lot of very insightful ideas there. I noticed a lot of similarities between the idea of being in a state of flow and being mindful in whatever activity you're partaking in. How do you distinguish between the two? So flow and mindfulness, or are they one and the same?
Great question. Look, you added the pressure.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is, in order to be in flow, you need to be more mindful. And basically, even when the first thing I talk about in digital wellness is that we need to be more digitally mindful. And how to be digitally mindful is that being more intentional when we are using the digital facilities that we have and all the devices in our hands. Because only when this happens, we will be more present and will be more engaged in our tasks. So I think it's something that makes the flow happen. This is what mindfulness means.
Yeah, definitely. It's very intertwined. But also, when you're being mindful as well, you're very much in the moment, right? So you're teaching yourself to be in that moment. And then with that, over time, when you're in flow, you just become passionate about what you're doing, right? You forget the time, maybe you forget to eat, like you're very much involved. But the activity of mindfulness, like the technique of that, helps you get to another level of flow, right? It helps you keep momentum constantly. So yeah, very much entwined.
And I'll add just one more word to that layer, because before we came to the panel, we were talking about happiness, right? And I don't know if there is like a distinct difference between flow, mindfulness, happiness, well-being. Like maybe there's an umbrella and then there's pillars, or I don't know. But it seems that like all of these words, all of these, and maybe there's no words to explain it. Maybe it's just the feeling. I don't know.
I think they're all in the same family, right? But
Yeah.
it's very subjective, right? So happiness, what you said earlier, happiness is
Define happiness.
Yes, exactly. So happiness for me might be something completely different for you. But ultimately, I believe they're in the same family.
Yeah.
So like, happiness for me is being content, right? So just being satisfied and not being looking for that euphoria moment or what have you, just being constant. But someone else might have something completely different.
Even saying the word content, what makes you content?
Exactly.
It's completely different to my lens. How I perceive the world is completely different to how she perceives the world, and everyone here. Right now, I think it's creating your own flow. Creating your own mind, what serves you, tailor it. Literally tailor it. What serves me mentally? What serves me physically? Surround yourself with people who literally, seriously, define moments of happiness for you that you are allowing into your private flow. This is your flow.
Yeah.
This is your private space. Who do you allow, who do you give access to within those moments of your flow? Is it family? Is it friends? In fact, who have you not invited into that flow?
Okay.
Bring those people in. This is all part of your journey. This is all part of creating whatever you define as happiness. It's allowing and giving access to those, and sometimes cleansing. You need to sometimes cleanse. Sometimes some people that don't deserve or don't need to be in this flow because they're not serving you, mentally, physically, they could actually be robbing you of your reality because they're creating suffering. Cleanse those out. Welcome you, welcome those who have been spoken to for a while. This is what I was going back to earlier on. When was the last time let's say you have a 75-year-old mother and you only see her twice a year. Let's say she lives up to the age of 80. It's not 5 years. 5 years.
Twice a year.
No, it's not 5 years. 10 more visits. You get on that phone right now. You bet your bottom dollar it will be right. Because if we look at life differently, if we look at it from a different angle, it's not 5 years. You've got 10 more visits if you only see your parents twice a year. That's it. Literally embrace the flow. Allow those people to come in and cleanse at times for yourself, for your own need. And you will notice a big difference. Of course, mindfulness is all part of the whole umbrella. Embracing all these beautiful moments, unhappy moments, embracing uncertainty. You need to fall to be able to get back up and understand what you actually learn from. Because people fall and think that's it. It's like, no, get up. What did you learn from that fall?
You make it very hard to cut you off. because every single thing that you're saying, I'm like, okay, are you talking to me? Keep talking, and I'm like, but wait, there's 4 people on the panel. Wait.
Yeah,
Goodness, that's amazing.
But Samira, I want to highlight something also that Samira is talking, you focus much on the relationships, which of course is
Wow.
an important aspect of living a well life. But again, there are some people who are not very good with their relationships, and still they also have the right to work on their wellness and to have flow activities other than the ones that we usually find in having sitting or engaging socially with our beloved ones. And that's why sometimes I give the simple examples of what for a housewife. What do you love? You know that when you're cooking for your
Yeah,
kids, that could
yeah.
put you in a state of flow only if you activated the intention that I want to enjoy this cooking.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it as a mission because there needs to be food on the table at 3 p.m. when they're back from school. It can be as simple as that. If a man, for example, he has nothing to do. Some men are obsessed by their cars and they like to wash them themselves, right? They can be literally in a state of flow by washing the car.
Washing the car.
Yeah, it's gonna give them full enjoyment, right? Yeah, it's like foaming it and then waxing it and shining it. It is like a process, and they find like, oh, or how already 40 minutes passed, you know? This you can find different
I love
ways.
that.
For kids, you can be dancing or going to a theater, going to an opera, drawing, coloring. I have adult coloring books, and sometimes
Yeah,
I'm so
me
overwhelmed
too.
with everything happening around me. I just pick my colors and start to color just for 15 minutes, and it can take me to sleep also. It is simple. The relationships is very important, definitely. For people that, especially in the pace of life in the UAE and nowadays, actually not even the UAE only, sometimes you just live a lonely life and an adult coloring book can suit you to be in a state of flow, you know.
Yeah,
Tailored to the need of each individual.
the individual. Yeah. All right, so that's a perfect segue into the UAE because you've already touched on it. Our last question, because it is time for us to wrap up, but just a little bit of context. The UAE is one of the most, we'll just say popular opinion. The UAE is one of the most fast-paced, highly digitized countries in the world. As a place that is always in motion, this year's themes of Ras Al Khaimah Art, what advice would you give to residents who truly want to push the brake, slow down, and fully be present in their everyday lives? Go ahead, Hadra.
I would recommend that you put in a boundary with technology, right? So you go with intention. So at least once a day, you switch off for at least an hour. So that could just be putting your phone in silent and doing an activity where you kind of immerse within yourself. Even if you're not doing an activity, putting in that boundary and committing to that and normalizing that, that will give you a sense of balance.
I agree.
So true. And I would especially want to talk to this about younger generation, because we are seeing with so many screens for the school children. And I can say the minute they are alone, they put their earbuds inside their ear, just cut off from the world and whatever they are listening or watching YouTubes. So this, I don't know, it's a more onus to the parents or comes to that. I don't know. We have to like a digital detoxing or maybe dopamine fasting we should be having from this digital medium.
I like that.
Learning to enjoy little things, finding little happiness in little things, just like a color of the sky. And for me, like having these conversations, it's making me happy.
Yeah.
So these values, I don't know, we have to propagate to the younger generation. That's what I feel strongly at this moment.
Thank you. All right, Samir. Yep.
They've said it beautifully. I mean, just focusing on little things, but they're not little things, they're actually quite big things. Disconnecting from social media, reconnecting with yourself. See less of, because there is a lack of connection. And humans we need connection.
Yeah.
We need connection. So when we find temporary dopamine, as you said, dopamine kicks over, that pleasures temporarily. These are just temporary. Because the moment the phone is off, like
There's life. Exactly.
there's a void of being able to connect with others.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
realize the time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, do what serves you. Do what serves you.
Thank you.
I think there's an Arabic phrase that says that we have التي هي الذئب, and what it means is like basically the challenge, the problem, or the solution for the challenge lies within the challenge itself. So we need to be, as Haj was saying and everyone's saying, being more intentional in using the digital pace and all the fast pace around us, how we can utilize it in our own benefit. Like our phones, they have now apps that you can put on don't disturb or to control the amount of messages you're receiving all the time or the notifications you have. Your social media have a way that you can filter for specific news that you don't want to be coming around, because again, being mindful of what you're watching all the time, even if you are watching it only for 1 hour, because all that has to do with negative emotions and stressful and in news about depression and suicide, you're not in a good state, you know, even if you're only doing it for 1 hour. So utilize the apps and utilize the digitization in a way to serve you, because it's going to go wider and wider, and there's no way that we can, avoid it by any means.
Yeah.
We just need to embrace it, but embrace it mindfully and how to utilize it in our own benefit.
Wow. That was perfect. A beautiful way to tie up our panel with a beautiful big bow. If you all can join me with thanking our panelists for this last speaker series, for the third speaker series, Embracing Flow. Please join me with a round of applause.